Yeah, hello everybody. Welcome to another edition. Hello, Cassie. Hello, John. Hello, Lori. Well, hello there, Michelle, Lehman, and Liana. Nice to see everybody. Is everybody starting to tune in this evening?
Hey,
Jacob, how are you
yes,
doing?
I'm doing great there, Grizz. How you doing tonight?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. It's been a wonderful week and everything. So, how have you been this weekend and this week coming up?
Yeah, well, it's been a really busy, hectic time. The week went flying by, but I was delighted when I realized it was Wednesday and we were going to have another episode tonight. So being live and chatting with some of the folks from wherever they're tuned into is going to be lots of fun. And I have a couple of messages from Spirit to share tonight. And I have thoughts. The main thoughts I woke up with this morning were about resiliency and how important it is for us to ask for spiritual help and prompting and guidance when we're going through challenging times. So that I'm not sure how I'm going to weave all that in, but that's kind of been what's on my mind. And I think that whole theme of resiliency, when you're as busy as we all are, and we're running from one thing to the next, and we're trying to make sure we're focused on the right things and being there for people in the ways that they want and need us to be, and the ways that we want to be there for them. We have to keep up with our homework, right? We have to make sure we take care of ourselves and make sure that we're strong and we're resourceful, and we don't let little things knock us off our balance for too long. And to me, because I'm a little older, the image of resilience I have is that old romper room doll that they would push it down and it would it's right back up.
Right.
And so it's like, all right, you know what? If the world kind of pushes you down, or people say things that get you down, or whatever, if circumstances happen and you're like, oh man, what was that? That came out of left field. It's just important to say, all right, what do I need to learn from that? Or how do I deal with that? And get right back up and shine your light and shine your love and share your wisdom whenever you have the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, your journey begins now. Welcome to the show, everybody. So thanks for tuning in. And for the audio listeners on iHeart, Spotify, Google, and Apple, thanks for tuning in. And her information is down the bottom in the comments. So make sure and check out her website, PayPal accounts, her Gmail, and everything. You'll be fascinated on the journey that she will take you on, ladies and gentlemen. So good evening.
Well, thank you, Grizzly. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Alethea Jacob, and I'm originally from New York. So I'm pretty much known for my straight talk and being direct. But I also live in the Midwest now, so I've softened quite a bit, and I'm much more aware of the importance of having that heart open and the sensitivity out there in any interactions that I'm doing. So what I thought might be kind of fun today is to start with some angel cards and oracle cards, basically a general message and reading for all of us that are here live at the moment, but also for anybody who's tuning into this after the fact. I asked Spirit to give us messages that would resonate with you as well. So hopefully, no matter when you're watching or listening, when you hear these messages, you'll go, oh yeah, that's just what I needed to hear right now. All right. So I chose 3 angel cards and oracle cards, and then 3 tarot cards, past, present, and future for the tarot, and just 3 messages for today. And the ones that I got for today, the first one was clarity. And clarity reminds us, angel wisdom reminds us that a busy, cluttered mind is a sick one, and a still, clear mind is a divine one. And it's important for us to allow the wisdom in our hearts to radiate out and dissolve the chatter of your mind. So that's a big lesson for me in life in general, because I talk fast, I think fast, I go. I know Grizzly doesn't have much moss growing under his feet either. He's bouncing from one thing to the next, helping people, producing shows, sharing information, doing his research. When you're active in this field, it feels like you don't have a minute to breathe sometimes. And yet it's really important to make that time to rest, to tune into spirit, whether you call it meditation or not. I mean, some of my biggest insights come when I'm in the shower or washing dishes. I think that's because water has something to do with connecting us too. But I know that it's really important to make that time so that we can be clear in what we're thinking, what we're saying, and we can give spirit the opportunity to give us some insights. Okay. The next card I chose was "There's nothing to worry about." And this one says, "You are safe, and the situation is under perfect control of divine providence and universal order. Only infuse loving thoughts and emotions into the situation to ensure that the highest possible outcome flows effortlessly to and through you." Wow. So that card is a reminder of a universal metaphysical principle and truth, that what we focus on grows. And so if we are constantly worrying and thinking about all of the negative possibilities in a situation and what might happen, we're only going to attract and manifest more and more of those negative conditions to us. So when we have that faith and trust that, spirit's got our back, and we're paying attention, and we're doing our best to make the decisions to, again, be of service to others, or to do the right thing all the time, or to the best of our ability, right? We should expect the situations to resolve gracefully. It is so important to view the outcome that you're looking for and hoping for. So it's not about just manifesting it. So, for example, if you were going to go on a job interview, wouldn't it be silly if in your mind you saw yourself bombing the interview and not getting the job? It's like, well, don't waste the time and even go there if that's the energy and the information that you put out there. Instead, you want to rally yourself, think, and project confidence. I'm going to do great with this interview. I'm going to be able to answer whatever questions they ask me. I'm going to be exactly the person that they're looking for. I'm going to connect wonderfully on a heart level and an emotional level and intellectual level with the people that I'm meeting in this new business that I'm going to, or this new opportunity I'm going to, and it's going to work out even better than I thought. Okay, now it makes sense to go on that interview. Right. So we have to do our part to prime the pump energetically, and with our mind, make sure that we're putting energy into the thoughts that create the reality we want, not ones that are throwing up roadblocks or sabotaging us along the way. And then the third card I chose for tonight that came out, it's inspiration. And this says, "Your thoughts and feelings are being lifted to greater spiritual heights. Act upon your ideas, and your flashes of insight are inspirational." And so inspiration, what does inspiration mean, right? Inspire, to bring in spirit to you. And then as you breathe out, you share that spirit with the world, right? So to me, breathing is a great metaphor for what we should be doing on a spiritual level. Breathe in the spirit, breathe out the love and what spirit told us to do. Breathe in and out, right? It's a process. You can't be doing one all the time, right? Just as if you were an artist or an author or a musician or anybody who's in a creative process of problem solving, you need time away in your cave, whatever that place where you connect to spirit, to get the information, and then you can swing on out into the world to share the insights, the revelations, the information that you have. Okay. And then the next three cards that I chose were tarot cards. And for me, when I do a 3-card spread with tarot, it's past, present, and future. So the past was the King of Cups upside down. The present was the 10 of Pentacles right side up. And the future is the Moon upside down. So I will talk about all three of those cards. And by the way, the deck that I use is the Aquarian deck. And I'm just going to do a little quick shout out to my friend Craig Gingulis, who actually wrote the book Psychic Tarot, which is the official companion deck for it's the official companion book for the tarot deck. And they just re-released it after 40 years. There's over 100,000 copies of his book in print, and they just reissued it because there's still such a love of that Aquarian deck and a demand for the book to explain how to use it and whatnot. And one of these days, probably next week, I'm going to record a series, a teaching series on the Aquarian deck and go through all the cards of the deck, all the suits, what they mean. And they'll just be shorter little YouTube educational stuff. So if you're really interested in learning about tarot, look for that within the next couple of weeks. It should be out there somewhere with my name on it. All right, so back to the cards today. So the King of Cups. Well, when cups are upside down, what cups talk about is the importance of us filling our cup up, nurturing ourselves, acquiring the things that we need to give in order to share them with others. When cups are upside down, we're tired. We're running ourselves ragged. Our gas tank is empty. And so that used to be a pattern for me in the past. And I reckon that since it came up for most of us here tuned in today, that's probably a pattern for a lot of us, that we go, go, go. And we don't often in the past take the time to stop, recharge our battery, and really rest and recharge and fill ourselves up before we go on to the next thing. What's happening for us right now? I love this card. The 10 of Pentacles. This is a card of happily ever after. It's happy home, happy family, balance in all aspects of your life. Pentacles is the suit of balance, and it has to do with your finances, your health, your spirituality, your relationships with others, and time, that balance of work, rest, and play. So when I get this card, it's like, hey, we're doing a pretty good job. Most of us, despite the craziness in our world and all the demands on us, we're doing a pretty good job at staying balanced and focused, and most importantly, grateful. We're filled with gratitude for the blessings that are in our life and aware of those and noticing those. And that's helping to create a sense of peace and joy, again, despite the craziness that's going on in the world, pretty much anywhere we look these days. The last card, the Moon is also one of our happily ever after cards, but when it's upside down, it's really this feeling of how do you get beyond wistfulness? So when it's right side up, if you think about the Moon, it's like, it's all those woulda, coulda, shouldas. Why didn't I buy Apple stock when it was, 50 cents a share, or, whatever, right? It
can be really, and that's the truth.
Right? Practical worldly stuff. It's like, why did I spend so much time with this person? Or why did I spend this much time? Or why didn't I spend more time? So it's, it's the Moon is a lot of those. What are the things that got in our way of happily ever after? But because this is upside down, it actually has a better meaning. It says we are at a point where we are no longer victims of that wistfulness, that longing, that, I couldn't figure it out. I was damned if I did and damned if I didn't. I didn't know what else to do. It's totally knowing and believing that whatever you did, whatever happened, you learned from it, you moved on, and you got lessons, you got the love that you can take forward. And that's it. You don't have to cycle back and get stuck in all those woulda, coulda, shouldas. And so that's a really important thing as we go forward, to be able to go back to our past and forgive ourselves, love ourselves as much as we unconditionally love and forgive others. And with that, I want to share a little insight I had. I had quite an emotional revelation during the week. And I asked Grizzly before we started, would it be okay, to share something that's this vulnerable and personal to me. But I think it actually ties in so well with that card. And so I'm going to do it. So one thing that I realized for myself is that I have a pattern that I make tremendous progress in whatever I'm doing. And then I get to a certain point and I sabotage myself. And whether it's exercising and being really great and diligent out doing it, and the next thing I know, I'm not, or working on projects and I'm like, okay, I got 2 more hours to finish up that project. And I find myself sitting on the couch watching an old movie from the 80s that I've seen 3 times before, or, just something happens. And I'm like, what's going on with me that I sabotage myself, and I break the momentum that I have with what I'm doing, because I love what I'm doing and I'm happy with the results. And I feel so grateful for the help and the promptings of spirit. So what I did is there was a technique that I learned from the Silva life system. It used to be called Silva Mind Control, but now they call themselves the Silva life system of learning. And one of the techniques they talk about is putting a glass of water by your bedside, and small glass, and you drink half of it before you go to bed. And you say something to the effect of, this is all I need in order to get the answer to the question or the problem to the solution that I have in my mind. And so I asked that question, what am I doing, or why am I sabotaging myself? When I'm really loving what I'm doing and want that momentum and want that progress to continue. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I heard the words survivor guilt. And I thought, wow, that's kind of heavy. Like, what am I surviving? We all survived not we all, but I survived 9/11. I'm from New York originally. I know a lot of people that had some pretty horrible things happen during that time. But then I heard from spirit, it was like, my family of origin, my mother, my father, and my only sibling, my brother, are all on the other side of the veil. And my brother died at 41 and my father died at 46. And so they didn't get a chance to live this full measure of creation and have these sense of adventures and travel and the impact that I'm having in my life. And when I think of my mom, we were actually together on vacation when she died and I came home. So there was a lot of tragedies in my life that I survived. And I really didn't think it would stop me from going forward. But I realized that I felt, obviously on some deep subconscious level, I felt guilty that I was becoming more and more successful and living my dream and doing the things that really matter to my soul. And theirs didn't seemingly get that same thing. And so I started journaling and I did a lot of reflection and a lot of crying and talked to them in spirit. And I asked for forgiveness for anything that I may have done to judge them harshly or not be there for them. And I asked them to be, helpers for me now. And, I needed to forgive myself for whatever I thought I needed. And I needed to show myself that love. And I actually invited them in spirit. I said, hey, you know what? Be angels on my shoulder. Come with me when I travel. Be able to live vicariously through me and have some of those experiences to enrich you on the other side of the veil. Even though, we're apart that way, you can still share in some of that. And that felt really good and healing and positive. And I can't say it was like flipping a switch of all of a sudden now I'm right on top of everything, but I notice I'm a little bit more focused than I was before. I'm not making as many bad decisions about being lazy or eating the wrong things or blowing off a workout session, or, I'm not doing that, since I had this revelation. And it really struck me that the most important thing that we can do when we're looking at our past is to know and realize that we did the best we could with the knowledge we had at the time, with the resources we had available to us, and we had good intentions. I don't think there's anybody who is out here that's on this channel. I'm sure there's people out in the world that have malevolent intent, but I don't think there's anybody who's tuned in here today that says, oh yeah, I'm going to really do this or that and try to mess up these people or make the worst possible choices just to, throw a monkey wrench into the works. That's not what we do, right? We always do the best we can with what we have. And there's a part of me that I wish I had the extent of life experience or wisdom or even the tools that I have now. I wish I had those 20, 30, 40 years ago when I was dealing with some of these crises in my family. And, I probably would have been able to help them in better ways and help myself, heal from it a little bit better and deeper. But I want to encourage anybody who's listening in here tonight or watching tonight, or whenever you're tuned in, to truly forgive any shortcomings you think you had when you look back at your past and say, gosh, I could have done that better, or I should have done that better. No more coulda, shouldas, right? No more coulda, shoulda, wouldas. We did the best we could. What do we take forward? We take forward the love. We take forward the learnings. We take forward the connections that we have with those people that will always be in our heart. They're always connected to our soul. And it's important to forgive ourselves, to forgive them, and to have that unconditional love, not just for the people we meet, but for ourselves, right? I've always been my hardest critic of myself. And I know a lot of people are like that, right? We judge ourselves pretty toughly. And that's not what Spirit wants from us. Spirit wants us to learn, to be resilient, sure, to turn to them, to turn to Spirit for guidance and prompting and help, but also to allow ourselves to heal and recognize that if we're going to shine our light and share our gifts and develop and hone and master our spiritual gifts and use them in the service of others and ourselves, we need to get out of our own way, get out of our own head, get out of our own heart, get out of our own gut, and stop judging ourselves and truly come from a place of love and positivity and intention. And you know what? We're not perfect, right? That's part of being on this side of the veil. We stumble, we fall, and just like the little romper room thing, we get back up, right? And then we have to keep on going. And we just do the best we can. And if we make a conscious choice to be loving, to shine our light, to do the best we can in any moment, even if things don't turn out exactly as we thought they might or planned, we can still hold our head up high and know that there's going to be a good outcome, So don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on the things that are important to you. Take a breath, take a step back and ask yourself, what might I be doing that's blocking me from the very thing I want to achieve in my life? Ask yourself, am I doing something that's inhibiting or lessening the extent that this dream can manifest, that my outcome, my desires can manifest, am I holding myself back for some reason? And when you get that, be thankful and grateful that you have your personal revelation of what it might be that was bothering you or hurting you or stopping you, and heal that, forgive it, love yourself, and be grateful that your Spirit is working with you to help you become even better and more empowered and more able to have the creative, fulfilled life that you're looking and wanting to have in your life. So that's kind of what I wanted to share, because it surprised me that, at this point in my life, when I work on myself a lot, I've gone to all kinds of classes, I've done things all over these years. And I think, oh, wow, how could there be this big, like, honking chunk of something still waiting to go, hi, in my subconscious? And it's like, all right. But, I think before now, I might not have been ready to truly not just face it, but to take that step of truly forgiving myself and the others involved and truly loving myself so that I could heal and go forward and be the best that I can be. And I hope y'all are finding that at a much younger age than I do or did. But I think it's important that we cut ourselves a little slack, depends where you, I guess, how you're raised or where you grow up. But I grew up in the Northeast, and it's a lot of type A, hardcore, do your best or else kind of people, and expectations are so high that are put on us and that we put on ourselves, that it's really kind of nice to go back and take a breath and go, oh, you know what, didn't do that bad, didn't do that badly, and yeah, maybe I could have done it better, and as I go forward, I will intend on doing better and better and better every day. Every day in every way, let's get stronger and better and clearer, more loving, more forgiving, more creative, filled with more light to share, acquiring more gifts and tools and abilities along the way, so that we can pretty much handle anything that comes up, help anybody that needs it in whatever ways they need it. And that's my wish for all of us that are tuned in tonight.
Sonny wants to know, at what age did you realize that you had abilities or your gifts?
Well, Flash, what? Sorry, everybody. That's my dog, Flash. He's my Belgian Malinois, and he hangs out, keeps me company. When he feels the energy, he kind of lies on my feet, and this is like, oh, yay. Anyway, at age 7, I was communicating with light beings that were in my bedroom. They looked to me kind of like oversized fireflies, but they weren't bugs. And they were hovering up by where the ceiling and the wall meet, up in that area. I'm forgetting what that's actually called. It's called something official, but I don't remember it now. But I would have conversations with them telepathically. And so it wasn't until I started talking to other people that I realized that that wasn't normal. But as far as the rest of the gifts, I was the oldest daughter of the oldest daughter of the oldest daughter. And intuition was huge in our family. We didn't need cell phones. It was sort of like, mom would think, come home, and it would pop in my head and I'd come home. And, I knew what she was cooking for dinner, even though, before I even walk in the house. Right. So we were a highly intuitive family. And it was when I was in my, I guess, late teens that I started really consciously developing more of the tools with the purpose of being of service to others. Learning the tarot, learning how to read palms, learning how to read auras, learning how to talk to spirit. And then when I was in my early 20s, I started working at a psychic fair in the Connecticut, New York area called PhD fairs. And these were run by a gentleman who had actually graduated Harvard and decided, his name is Robert Stemson, he decided to use his abilities and his intuition to help make sure that people could be in touch with their soul's purpose and have higher development on a spiritual level and an emotional and a mental level, and on all the levels possible. And he would do these psychic fairs, and there were 8 locations, and we would do one location each weekend. And so every 2 months, we'd circle back around to the first one. And they were typically hotel ballrooms, and there would be anywhere from 4 to 10 psychics reading. And each one had specialties, and somebody would sit down. They'd have a ticket. They'd buy your time for 15 minutes or 30 minutes. The bell would ring. We'd all start our reading. 15 minutes later, the bell would ring. That person would get up. The next person would sit down. And each person would ask for a different tool. Oh, can you read my palms? Can you read my angel cards? Can you talk to my guides and clairvoyantly get some information for me? Can I have a tarot spread, etc.? Can you tune into my animal and tell me what's going on with my pet at home or my pet that's passed and whatnot? So I looked at that as psychic boot camp to hone and develop my skills. So it was sort of in that period from the late teens to early 20s where I really dove in headfirst to practice, develop my skills, and get as many tools under my belt as I could, so that I could help people in whatever ways were needed. And I always, right from the beginning, thought of any of the psychic, intuitive abilities and as just part of human nature, because it is something that we all have the aptitude and ability to do if we choose to, and we study and learn. Some people are born with it. Some people are born in families with it, and so they can just pick it up from around them, and other people have to, look a little bit harder, but work a little bit more, kind of like music, right? I think I may have mentioned this before. If you grew up in a musical family, you're probably going to sing or play an instrument. If you didn't, you can still learn how to sing and play an instrument. You just have to go find a teacher somewhere, or go online these days and find something that'll work for you. So that to me was the beginning really of service, and just making it not seem like it was anything scary or crazy. I approached most of it with a sense of curiosity and wonder, like, oh, I wonder what else I can learn, or what else is there. And, I went and studied with different trainers and teachers and healers. And the point was just to follow the promptings of spirit and know that these were all like threads of a tapestry that I was weaving together, that were becoming what would someday be the services that I offer to people today. So if you actually go to my website, it's on the banner there. If you go to my website, there's a whole history there of what I've done and where I came from. And there's also all the different tools in my tool belt, and a little description about why you might do one versus the other. But my intention has always been helping people for guidance and for comfort and for direction and for insight. To me, that's the best, highest form of channeling or doing psychic readings or information, is to help the person in front of me build that bridge from wherever they are to wherever they need to go, whether it's connecting different information, whether it's building a plan. So to me, I kind of think of it all as life coaching or spiritual life coaching, because I want to help people wake up their soul, or figure out what is their soul purpose, and how can they have more joy, creativity, and fulfillment in their life right now, and work more and more towards expressing what their soul wants them to express in this lifetime. And so that's kind of where all the different tools are. And which tool I use, it's much more of a function of what the client wants and what they feel comfortable with. If somebody doesn't like tarot cards because they have a certain perception about them, I can read angel cards, I can read oracle cards, I can read their aura, I can read their palm, I can just talk. It really depends on what they feel comfortable with. And there's certain situations that you want something a little bit more strategic or tactical. So if I'm looking at a situation and I want to know what pattern has been repeating itself over and over and over again in your life, as if you're one of my clients, I'm probably going to use the tarot cards, because it gives me a snapshot of, this is what was going on in your past, this is what's happening now, and this is what the future direction is if you don't make any adjustments to your energies, intentions, and actions. That was a long answer to that really short question of when, but sorry about that.
No, it was great. I loved it. Fascinating. Yeah. If you don't have any more questions, ladies and gentlemen, please remind yourself, put in all caps, and when it's appropriate, I'll flash them up for her. But keep them coming. And welcome, All Witchy. Nice to see you on the show. All Witchy wanted me to tell you she is a big fan of yours, and she's following you. So absolutely.
Thank you so much. That's nice to hear. Thank you. All right. So remember, when it comes to developing your spiritual gifts, first of all, you want to ask yourself, what's sort of my natural leanings or abilities, right? So if you're always somebody that, loves music and loves, you can hear accents and you're really good with languages, you're probably clairaudient, meaning you have the ability to hear the spiritual sounds as well. And so looking at different tools that utilize that strength might be something to think about. If you're always this person that's good at daydreaming and you have these images that just pop up and you're so creative with your internal imaginations of your mind, well, that probably means that you're clairvoyant. And so learning how to read auras, or seeing energy, or getting that information from what you see through maybe tools like remote viewing even, those might be very powerful tools for you to explore. The most important thing when you try any tool, there's actually two very important things. One is to have a sense of openness and curiosity as you're going there. And that playfulness of a child it'll kind of get any of the fear out of the way, and don't logically judge it until afterwards. While you're in it, have the experience. I mean, wouldn't it be kind of silly to be monitoring when you're having this amazing intimate session with somebody that you love, and like, oh, well, that was really good, or like having this voice analyzing and criticizing it as you're in that moment? That's going to take you out of the moment, right? It's like there'll be plenty of time afterwards when you're catching your breath and you're relaxing, to be like, wow, that was some pretty fun stuff there, honey. So when you're approaching spirit and you're experimenting with different tools or techniques that are out there, allow yourself to be immersed in it, have the experience, and then you can critically look at it later and analyze it later and figure out like what parts were great and what parts you might want to do differently if you did it again. That's kind of collectively one big important chunk. The other is be aware of whoever you're studying or learning from, right? You want to make sure that the person fits for you. How do you know that? Whatever they say is going to make sense to your head. It's going to feel right to your heart. It's going to ring true in your gut, right? You're going to have this sense of, yeah, you know what? I feel connected. Anybody that's trying to teach you something, or whether it's a technique or if it's information or giving you a reading or a session, if something just feels off, it's probably not a good fit and match, right? So you want to make sure that you're feeling that connection as well. Because if you're feeling guarded or thinking like, geez, I don't know if this person really knows what they're talking about, or geez, I don't know if they have my best intention in mind, or geez, do they even have the expertise that they say they are, or are they just kind of winging it, right? You can tell that from when you're with somebody, right? Are they congruent? Do they know what they're talking about? Are they able to answer your questions? Does it make sense? Does it feel right? Does it ring true, right? Trust, we have these centers for a reason. We have a brain for a reason. Use it. We have a heart for a reason. Use it. We have a gut for a reason.
Absolutely.
Use
I totally agree with that.
Right? So even if a teacher is referred to you by a friend who's like, oh my God, this person is amazing. You're going to love her. You're going to love him. Boy, it's just, cat's meow. May not be for you. And that's okay, because our energies are what connect us. And just like there's certain groups of friends that naturally fit together and resonate together, it's because our energies are compatible. We're vibrating at a similar rate. We have a similar intention. We have similar outcomes. We have similar belief systems. We tend to flock together. Well, when you're teaching somebody or learning from somebody, you want to make sure that there's a similar camaraderie and a similar energetic compatibility. And there's no judgment in spirit. It's not like it's right or wrong, or it's, better or worse. It's just what fits you. And you need to honor that within yourself. So the first thing is have curiosity, right? Be playful with it, experiment. Turn off the analytical mind while you're in it. You can judge it all you want later and evaluate it all you want later. And whoever you're working with, and this is important too, right? When there's so many potential teachers and guides, and I'm going to call them experts, but not everybody's an expert who says they're an expert that's out there. But just because they have 1 million followers doesn't necessarily mean that they're an expert in their field. It just means they're really good at getting out there, right? Maybe people that are not as well known might resonate better with you. And again, it's a personal thing. It's a personal connection. But when you're watching what the person is saying, you should be like, yes, yes, yes. All right. It should be ringing true on so many different levels. And if it's not, that's probably a sign that your energies aren't at that same place or a similar enough place where it's valuable to you at that time. Now, that doesn't mean that 6 months from now or a year from now, if you circle back around, you might go, oh, wow, this is amazing. And I'm going to use the Silva system as an example for this, because I had that book, the Silva Mind. It was originally called Silva Mind Control back in the 70s. And it was a little blue book by Jose Silva. And I had that on my bookcase. Okay, so we're in 70s, so now 80s, 90s, 2000. Okay, for over 45 years, I had that book on my bookcase, meaning to one of these days I'm going to read it. I wasn't ready for it for whatever reason. But about a month ago, the dang thing practically jumped off the shelf. And when I went to put it back, Spirit's like, no, read it now. Now? Yes, now. And I read it. And I was like, oh, wow, there's this whole new, and then I looked online and there's this whole new updated, wonderfully online version of all of their techniques, all of their exercises, all of their philosophies of how to use your mind, your energy, your spirit to become the best possible version of yourself you can be. I'm like, dang, part of me wishes I read that book 45 years ago. Wow, where would I be now? But you know what? I wasn't ready for it then. Now it's resonating big time with me. My energy had to be in a certain alignment for me to be open to it. So again, there's no judgment. It's not like, oh, bad girl, I didn't read that book, 40 years ago when I had it first, right? It's not about judging. It's about really understanding that when we are listening and going with the flow of spirit, we will be at the right place at the right time, meeting the right people for us to help them, for them to help us, or for them to help us help others, right? It's this wonderful dance that we do. And when we truly believe that everything happens at that proper time and place, grace can happen, miracles can happen, things can unflow in ways, blessings can come in ways that we couldn't even imagine before. It's not forced. I think before, if I had looked at some of that stuff, honestly, I probably would have tried to, I won't say abuse it, but I probably would have used it more to get stuff for me from an ego base versus now I want to get stuff so I can be better at helping others, which makes me happier and makes my soul like, wow, yeah, this is shine your light, girl. That's what you're supposed to be doing, right?
Absolutely. So, I totally can agree with that.
So I think some of these tools that, maybe we had dabbled in before, it's okay to circle back around and now like do a deep dive on it. And it has a richer, deeper meaning and context than maybe it would have before. And there's more tools out there now, and there's more experiences out there now. I mean, I think even the openness to discuss a lot of the paranormal, and I'm going to defer to you, Grizzly, because this is, your cup of tea there with all the different types of people as well. People are much more open now to share their spiritual experiences, the paranormal experiences. And it's not like, okay, if I tell you this, are you going to try to lock me up someplace,
Right.
It's a very different world now. And it's better because it's more open and people are sharing. Do you have some thoughts on that, maybe, Grizzly, to share?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It has been a tainted subject when it comes to anything paranormal. And when I got hurt in 2019, the Fraternal Order Police had college programs that were free to us. And I took some extra college classes and some psychology classes, right? And one of the things I had a rough time with was my professor, because we had to figure out a complex medical termination or description on a subject. And we had to also prescribe medicine. But like I was trying to tell my professor, but what if he or she has psychic or mediumship abilities? And they do see spirit, and they're not what we're trying to classify them in a particular medical definition, right? And he kept saying, Grizzly, take the class. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Now this is a real thing, because if you stop and think about all the people that with abilities like myself and others on our network alone in our platform, you go back and you dive into their childhood history as they were growing up, they were not an average person or child. They were an outcast. They were something that was not fit into society. And you stop and think, what did people do with children like that back in the days? They put them in asylums. They put them in hospitals, mental states. They shoved medicine down their throat and medicate them. And this is where I was trying to tell my professor, take the class. And I'm like, no, I mean, this is like being for real. And it got to the point, he was like, if you don't do what I say, I was like, so let's stop and think about this. And then we talk about, like you said, the paranormal side of things, that when people see or hear things, is it in my head or is it actually somebody coming back from the past? Everybody on my side of the family, on my mom's side, has come back and is still coming back and making contact. Kelly Joe reached out to me last night. I felt something on my top of my head and I had no idea. And she's like, Grizzly, your grandmother just kissed you out of nowhere. And I'm like, she leaving? I didn't say Kelly. I felt something on my head. She reached out as soon as it happened. Within 3 seconds, told me who it was. And I'm like, wow. And, you know, people don't understand that. And, you know, people do come back. And just like, you know, with your abilities, when people pass, what happens? They look back and they see how they treated their children, their significant other, and now they're going through this life-changing progress or changes or challenges or muck, or now they have to answer for what they've done. And now they see the trauma they caused people, and now they want to go back and communicate and say, tell them I'm sorry. Tell them I had no idea. Now they want to make amends. People, like you said, they're not mental. Now, is mental issues in America and the world a big problem? Absolutely. Totally agree with that. Yes. But we have to discern right and wrong and what is. You know, when people ask me, how do you know when spirit talks to me? It varies. Sometimes I don't hear it in my voice. Sometimes I hear it in my voice. Some people say I hear it on my left side, not my right and my left. And it's just, everybody's different. But you're right. And it's sad because people are judged and they're crucified.
And, you know, you're totally right about when I was younger, and almost to this day, you know, I've never felt like I fit in, you know, and I would try my best. But there was always something different about my energy or my gifts, or people just didn't understand. Like, even in my family and most of my friends, they had no idea what I could do or what that was, or, you know, they kind of put it in their own little box and thought, well, I think it's that. But, you know, once or twice, like, they would see me, you know, work with people and like, oh my God, is that what you do? You know, like, they had no idea. Right. So it's like, it's okay. But I want to talk about the mental stuff with you, because I actually had a friend that was diagnosed as bipolar. When she and I were taking consciousness expanding classes together, and she was having amazing experiences, but she told people in her family that would not understand that, and wound up in an institution initially. And I went to visit her in the mental ward of this New York hospital. And before I got to her room, if any of you all have been in a mental hospital, there's all kinds of gates and doors and locked areas, and you kind of go through one, and then you go through a hallway, and then you get to another one, and you go through another hallway.
It's just like a prison.
Yeah, pretty much. But as I'm walking from the one main door hallway to the next one, there was a lady there, and she's pointing on the floor, and she's going, the snakes, do you see the snakes? And I looked down, and I was almost laughing because I saw the snake in the preview movie today, and that was reminding me of that episode of my life. And I looked with my physical eyes. Of course, there's no snake. Then I shifted to my psychic eye and looked, and my metaphysical gaze, and I'm like, oh yeah, there were snakes all over the place.
Right.
They were thought form projections that this woman was picking up on. Now, their doctors are probably giving her, oh, I don't know what kinds of drugs back then to try to make her stop seeing the thought forms that were actually there. Now, I knew
That is
enough
correct.
to
Who suppressed them?
know enough not to tell people in that place, oh yeah, I see them too, because, God knows
Right.
there would have been trouble. But, there are times, and I'm going to fast forward to another situation. I had a dear friend, her name was Lori, and she was dying of brain cancer. And she asked me when she was getting towards the end, she asked me to promise to be there with her in the hospital so that she could know if what she was seeing was real or was a condition of the tumor in her brain, making her hallucinate and seeing things that weren't there. And I said, of course. And so when I went there, one of the things she asked me right away was, okay, so is there a little girl sitting on my bed at the foot of my bed? And I looked and I could see the spirit of a little girl that was there. And I communicated with her, and she had died in the hospital and had decided that one of the jobs that she had was for people that were going to be crossing over soon. She was sort of like a guardian to keep any negative energies or forces away from them, so that only their family and loved ones from the light could come and interact with the person who was about to pass. So I was like, yep, that is absolutely true. You're seeing something that's real. And, and that was good. Then she asked me, she said, well, what about the cruise boat in the parking lot? Is that real? And I said, I looked, I'm like, no. I said, that one's on you, dear. And she said, oh, thank God. She said it was filled with all these really weird people, and I really didn't want to go there with them. And so,
right.
So I was like, yep, no, that was a side effect of the brain cancer. But, so there are times where, whether it's due to medication, illness, other things that are happening with our energy, that we will hallucinate. We may see things that are not truly there. We may create a thought form of something that's not actually there. But that's different from the intuitive psychic sight, where you can perceive things that are just not of this physical dimension that exist in reality. And so understanding that, both exist, but it's really important to know which one you're experiencing. And that's where practice and playing with it and experimenting with it can help you have that clarity. Because you can imagine how disconcerting it can be for somebody, like it was for her, that she didn't know whether she could trust what she was seeing or not, because she didn't know whether it was her own intuitive psychic ability opening up as the veil was getting thinner and thinner for her as she got closer to crossing over, or whether it was a side effect of the medication she was on or of the tumor in her brain. So, it could be upsetting. I can imagine myself too, if God forbid I get something similar like that. I see an awful lot normally. I can only imagine what the heck I'd start seeing if I had something happening like that in my brain. So hopefully, God forbid, that won't be the case. But it's important to discern, right? You need discernment out there, folks, for whatever. And that's kind of circle back around to your teachers. You need to discern who's a good fit and match for you. I think we have a little time for a couple more questions, and then God, the hour flew by again so fast, Riz. Holy mackerel. I can't believe it.
Johnny is asking for a reading, if you don't mind.
Who is?
Sonny.
Sonny? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything particular you want me to focus on, Sonny, or just see what pops in?
Sonny, if you can give me some feedback, I can let her know. Hello,
sure.
Diesel. Welcome to the show. Nice to see you there. All right, give her a second.
Well, you know what, Sonny? I'm just going to go with what popped in right off the bat. But obviously, for a more in-depth reading, you can check me out on my website, and we can set something up. But as far as what I'm feeling right now for you, first of all, what hit me is your name. Is that Sonny? You're named that way because of your disposition. And what's happening lately is you're finding it hard to hold on to that optimism, that a lot of disappointments in people that didn't hold up their end of the bargain, or just things that you thought should have been a slam dunk are turning out to be a lot more work than you anticipated. And so it's impacting your enthusiasm a little bit. And Spirit's saying, do not let external sources diminish your light in the least. You can still shine brightly. You can still be positive. And remember, the thoughts that we think steer our energy. As our thoughts flow, the energy goes there. And so we want to still stay as positive as possible. I would rather be the optimist that occasionally gets disappointed than the pessimist that never has good things happen to them, right?
Oh,
so
amen.
You hold on to that optimism, you hold on to that enthusiasm, and don't let the alligators get you down. I think that's the old Southern phrase, right? Don't let the alligators. Is that it, Chris? Alligators get you down?
I think something like that. Yes,
something
absolutely.
Like that. Yeah, something
absolutely.
Like that.
So,
okay. Hopefully that made sense to you.
Yeah, her information's at the bottom of the screen. You need to actually reach out to her and spend some time with her and book a session, because what you see here on the show is nothing what you actually experience. And I know this firsthand because I work with them every day and throughout the week, and they contact me. And we actually, and she'll tell you, we'll do readings on each other and share things. But, to experience what you need to know or what you want to know, her information, email, websites down at the bottom, please check her out. Anything you'd like to wrap up before we end the show, ma'am?
I guess a couple just quick commercials, right? So my book, A Portal to Potential, this is filled with inspired writings that came from Spirit. It's, other than the introduction, it's 100% stuff that I channeled from Spirit, meant to help people, myself and others, tune into what's most important, what uplifts us, what gets us tuned into what our soul purpose is and what to be doing. My other little book that you can find on Amazon is The Creative Not Now, and this is life coaching tips on how to get balance in your life when it comes to finances, your health, relationships, spirituality, and time. And for those of you who want to develop your spiritual gifts more and learn more about your intuition, I am co-leading a retreat in Sedona, November 8th, 9th, and 10th. And all the information about that is on the event section on my website. But it's called The Path to Empowerment, Accessing Your Intuitive Abilities and Developing Your Spiritual Gifts. And it's a 3-day intensive. So if you're so inclined, come play with us in Sedona. I'm co-teaching that with Craig Gingulis, who is a shaman and a Western mystic and a really cool individual. He's been my friend. Oh, and he was also the author of that psychic tarot book 40 years ago. So he's been around too. He's been around the block a few times. But I want to thank y'all for tuning in and coming back again. I love the live format. It's so energizing to me to see I'm not reading the comments too much right now, but I know there's different people coming in, and Grizzly will pop up ones on the screen if there's a question or something, that I need to see right off. But just knowing that there's people that care and want to learn more about how to tune into their intuition and how to shine their light and how to figure out what their purpose is and make sure they're doing more and more of that in their life, and sharing with each other, so you don't feel so alone. You don't feel like you're the odd one out, that there is a home and a place for you where you're not the weird one. You're among friends and family when you're tuned into these channels, because we all have our gifts and we've all had experiences, and being able to share and help each other. I honestly think that's part of why we're here. Why did our souls individuate, right? If we're all one in spirit on the other side of the veil, why did we decide to come down as the 7 billion or 8 billion individuated beings that we are? There must be something that we're supposed to be learning and sharing and helping each other with. Otherwise, we wouldn't have done that, I guess.
Right. Absolutely.
Anyway, hope y'all have a wonderful week. Feel free to reach out to me. You can email me. All my information's down below, so please do. And Grizz, you can tell them about what to do to help with social media, because I don't know any of that good stuff. Like things and share things and follow things and subscribe, or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah,
make sure know that more than I do.
Make sure, if you're not a subscriber to our Bigfoot Outlaw family, subscribe. It's free. It don't cost anything. And if you enjoyed the shows and content, share it. let other people know that we have good channels and good shows on there, and let them know where to come to find peace and to learn about things. But also tonight at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, we're going to revisit Salt Fork, Ohio, the Bigfoot outing, where I got attacked by Bigfoot outside my tent, and also the jokes that everybody played on me. And we have people that were there. I'm bringing them on the show tonight, and they're going to tell about their experiences. And yeah, tune in, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you again, ma'am. It was always wonderful to have you on, and I can't wait for next week.
Right?
That is correct.
All right.
That is correct. And like I always say, from coast to coast, around the world, everybody. We'll catch you here in a few minutes. God bless. Bye-bye.
God bless. Bye-bye.